promoting, really, because the only way there was no website really at that point, or, there was no social media, so it was just a phone number.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember getting the emails.
Yes, we did. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, that was crazy.
But it seemed like if you lost a gig, you seemed to get another one pretty quickly.
Yeah. Yes, that was the persistence of my wife. She would grab the phone book and just go down the list and go, "You want a karaoke show? Want a karaoke show? Want a karaoke show? Want a karaoke show?" And she just sheer persistence. Somebody would say, "Okay," after like the 100th person, somebody would say, "Okay," so we'd go in and meet with the manager, owner, whatever, and we would walk in with the book of songs, and that was our selling point at that point. Back then, it was before everything was on hard drives. We had a nice collection of discs, so we had a book, and back at that point, people didn't have books, so it was epic to walk in and see the look on the owner or manager's face when we were like, boom, place that book down, and they were like, ooh, and then see, oh my goodness, yes, that's good. That was a big selling point.
Yes, and just to everyone who's listening, I told you on a previous episode that I did propose to my wife at karaoke, and it was through Bobby and Vanessa karaoke that we did this. I talked to them ahead of time and had us do a duet, and said, "Don't leave us up there." And thank you for that, as always. It was very magical.
Wow, that was some great times.
Yeah, it was.
Yes, indeed.
But you have to get a day job for a while. I know you worked for, what was it, Nature's Bounty?
Yeah, I did. I worked. It's so funny because one of my old high school buddies, who I just spoke to a couple of days ago, we saw each other in passing, and it was the first time we had seen each other since 1985. He worked the second shift, and I worked the first shift. And we passed each other one day, and we were like, oh my goodness, So we were just talking about that just a Sunday. Today's Monday, isn't it? Mm-hmm. It's hard to tell what day is which today, but yeah, that was yesterday afternoon. We were just chatting about that. So yes, and funny enough, I got that job at Nature's Bounty through a recommendation from Brian.
Who is my wife's ex-husband.
That's right. I let you say it. That's so funny, right?
But the art was calling back. The art was calling back. So, what made you decide to go into painting as a business? Was there a aha moment, or life is just going this way, I need to make a change or else I'm going to go crazy moment?
No, it was nothing like that at all, funny enough. I've always been one to just listen to the universe and just let it take me wherever I needed to go. And, there is always the struggle to, as an artist, how do you make money? How do you, struggle through the economics of being a struggling artist and what have you? And I never wanted to be that jaded artist or musician. I either went for it or I didn't. I didn't try and go into that, frustrating kind of artist musician person. I didn't want to be there. So I was driving a forklift in a warehouse for a couple of years to make ends meet, and I was in a forklift where the cab itself would rise up in the air, and I was up at the very, very top of the racks, which is like 25, 30 feet up in the air. It's up there. And there was a wooden pallet sticking out of the top rack. And it was sticking out just enough that if somebody went by it, if they went by too fast and had their forks up, they would have hit it and they wouldn't have seen it. It would have just came crashing down, which would have been, pretty tragic. So me in my stubborn Italian way decided to lean out of my cab and grab this wooden pallet and pop it back into the top of the rack, just back into the place. Well, apparently when I when I did that, I burst open my groin, double hernia. Whole thing just bloop. So I had a bilateral hernia operation immediately. While I was on workers' comp, I had absolutely nothing to do. Nothing to do.
What year is this?
This is 2015. The beginning of 2015. So this was 5 years ago. And I couldn't really walk around that much. I was really just had to be careful. So I had some old paints and some brushes laying around, and I just started painting while I had nothing to do. And when I went back to work, I showed a couple of my coworkers just a couple of pictures of my paintings, and one of my coworkers looked at me and was like, "Wow, that's really, really good. You should teach this." And my wife, same thing. She was at her job and showed some of her coworkers pictures of the work I had been doing. And they said the same thing. So when we got home that one night, we both said the same thing at the same time. And my wife, being the wheels are always turning, she's like, "That's it! That's it! That's what we're doing! That's it!" We started the business right there. Happy Little Brushstrokes. That was it.
You came up with the name right away?
It happened within a matter of a day. Boom. Happy Little Brushstrokes. Here we are 5 years later.
Wow.
I never expected, I figured would do like maybe one or two parties, and being, in the karaoke business, we did like bar and restaurant gigs, and we would do private parties here and there. Maybe we'd do like one every other month or something like that. I was figuring when we did the paint parties that we would do about the same. We'd do maybe one or two a month, maybe. Well, it didn't happen that way. It turned out that we wound up doing a couple a week, and then it just built and built. So by the time, I think from March till the time July rolled around, we went full time. That August, we did 31 parties in that first August. 31. Which is absolutely
that's the whole month.
yeah. We did, we had a couple of days free. We would do more than one party a day. I'd run around and do 2 or 3 events in a day. And for me, it was teaching and just for me, just being around people and talking and just enjoying it and seeing what people were doing. It just the joy of doing the parties really, really took on a life of its own. It's not anything I ever thought I would do. It really isn't. Wow. Just thinking back, it was amazing how quickly it... Wow.
Did you think you had this in you? Like, okay, paint party teacher, can I really pull this off? Is this me?
I said that to myself for the first 5 years. I say that to myself, now, what business do I got doing this? But you know what? It's, again, I always say to myself, I just let the universe take me where I'm going to go. And it always takes me in the right direction. Mm-hmm. So, I would question myself all the time. And the funny thing is that one of the things I did as a musician, which I really didn't even get into or speak about, was teaching. I would teach percussion ensembles and what have you. And somebody that I highly respect as an educator, very, very fine educator. His name is Jim, and he said to me, and I'll never forget this, he said to me that for me not to be an educator is a waste. that I was one of the finest educators he had ever come across. And that really always, sat in the back of my mind. I really, really enjoy it a lot. And I always did. Just, making that connection and seeing that light go on, that switch, those little switches that go off in people's minds, and that understanding. It didn't matter what it was, just seeing those lights go on. And wow, that's a wonderful thing. It really is. Now, so for me, it was, art. I love painting and just being able to share it. And I take it from a little bit of a different angle. Most art teachers say, just put in the effort. And I tell people, don't think. Just do it. Do what's natural. And you'd be surprised if you just let everything go, how much you are able to do without really trying. Don't try. Which is opposite of what you're told to say. Don't say that. Put in the effort. Practice. Do that, I was never a believer of that.
And now you could bring it to your biz.
And it does work, yes.
Did you have a plan on how to start this business in the beginning? You're like, okay, I need A to do this, and then I need B. Was there some kind of thing, or you just kind of had a little bit of a plan, or things kind of fell into place?
Both, actually. It was both. Things fell into place. When pretty much the way we did it was, from an economic standpoint, anything that we made, we immediately reinvested. So we went from, I think in the first couple of months, from being able to host a party with 12 people to 20 people to 40 people, and now we're up to 110 that we can host. So it was like, that's how we did it. As far as like a business plan, we really just took everything that we learned from doing the karaoke shows, running the shows, and just adapted that, everything that we had learned. I'm going to tell you really from like a business standpoint, a promotional standpoint, that was all my wife. That was Vanessa, 100%. I didn't, she's brilliant when it comes to all those things, my goodness. She's a genius when it comes to doing all that. So
was she starting email lists and website and all that stuff?
Oh, I will. As far as the website, when we were doing the karaoke later on, I had built a website for the business, for the karaoke.
I remember
business.
that.
So I had I had a lot of audio up. We did it like almost like a radio station where there were you can click on somebody's picture and all their songs would be up and ready to be listened to. So I had the experience on building the code and putting all that together. So I built a website for the Happy Little Brushstrokes and learned very quickly how to do search engine optimization. I think after the social media aspect of it came and worked its way out a little bit, we relied on mostly people searching Google. I'd say we had 65% of our business was people finding us on Google, and the other was repeats and referrals. Mm-hmm. So between the two, it just, it's pretty much just self-sufficient and self-repairing as far as, as we're going on, how it just keeps building itself.
Did you go to any paint parties beforehand to see how they did it?
Oof. Yeah, and the funny thing is that this we went to a paint night, and this was the summer before. And we were on a small little extended weekend in Pennsylvania in 2014 summer, and we went to a paint night. I got